My name is Mary Lou Meyer. I was born in New Jersey, but I didn't stay there very long. My family moved to Virginia when I was 4. All East Coast for most of my life. I went to high school in Washington, D.C., and then I went to college in New York City. After I finished my PhD, and I stayed as an assistant professor at Carnegie Mellon University, I then moved to Australia. But I have this really funny story where when I was at the University of Sydney, I often collaborated with people in other countries where we didn't meet. We sort of collaborated via email and shared papers and read and talked about our research. And there was some guy in China that I had been corresponding with. He thought my papers were interesting and he would ask for copies. We never met until one time we were both at the same conference. And he's from China, and Chinese names and English names are very different, both in the order in which they're presented and what's a male name and what's a female name isn't that obvious if you come from the other culture. And so I was the first speaker of the day at the conference, and I stood up and I gave my talk, and he came up to me afterward and introduced himself. And he said, "Remember, we've been corresponding for years about your papers, and I love your work." He said, "But I'm really surprised. First of all, I thought you were a man, and I thought you would be much taller." And I thought, that kind of captures it. First of all, if someone's really good in the field, first of all, the assumption is that it's a man. And secondly, the assumption is that the person's tall. And so I kind of had two things going against me. One is I'm female, and the other is I'm short. What he was saying, and if you look at the statistics, taller people have the potential to be more successful. And it's true. I mean, it's a fact. It's not a bias. It's actually true. And so we flipped that. And at the time I was successful. I was publishing a lot of papers. I had a few books out there. I had research papers. I was invited speaker at a conference. So I was successful. And we often flip that. We go, oh, if the person's successful, they must be tall. It's funny. And then he went further. I guess he couldn't get over it. And then he found that my husband was also a professor. And he came up to me at lunchtime the next day and he said, "I get it now. I understand why you've been so successful. Your husband must have helped you write your thesis." And I said, "Actually, I didn't even know my husband when I was writing my thesis." And that wasn't very nice. But I think that representation, the diverse groups, is important at any time and in any endeavor. And they've actually been able to prove, people have done studies where you have a homogeneous group of people trying to solve a problem and you have a diverse group, and the diverse group is more likely to come up with the better solution. They've proven that the different perspectives actually aids the problem solving and aids the decision making. It doesn't make it worse.